I hope everybody enjoyed Stuart's video. We have been asking him to make a video for us for a long time because we have an inside joke that every single good movie we watch, he recommended to us. He is a movie prodigy. He has a knack for just finding relevant stuff. So listen to what he says and you'll be there first. So anyway, our friend Allie asked us to post a video about our favorite comedies. We did our disturbing movies and this and that. We know that those kinds of movies aren't everybody's cup of tea, so we're gonna...
And we've done our favorite comedians, but now we're gonna do our favorite comedies.
Yeah. I think the funniest movie of all time is Wet Hot American Summer.
It's a great movie. Great cast.
When I saw it in the theater, I was laughing so hard that I felt like I missed half the movie, and the next night I told my friend, I was like, we gotta go back. So that movie is so funny.
Yeah, and you can watch it over and over again. It's still funny.
Yeah, because you notice it's packed with stuff. It's directed by David Wayne, who has a series called Wayne Days on YouTube that's really funny. He doesn't make it anymore because now he's a big Hollywood director who makes good movies. Role Models is funny. Mm-hmm. And his upcoming movie, Wanderlust, has Paul Rudd and Jennifer Aniston. Who knows if it'll be any good, but one of the reasons why Wet Hot American Summer is so great is that it starts out not as silly. It progressively gets sillier throughout the movie. By the end, it's all these wacky jokes, but in the beginning it's more of like a lighthearted camp comedy, and it slowly builds to a surreal climax.
Alright, next we wanted to talk about some of our favorite Woody Allen comedies. Annie Hall, Bananas, I Love Radio Days, Zelig, Broadway Danny Rose, so many. Yeah,
and then Crimes and Misdemeanors. Some of those kind of fall into the drama comedy category, but that's what he's great at. There was a great documentary on Woody Allen that PBS just aired. It was 3.5 hours. You might be able to catch it online somewhere, but tells you everything about his life. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
Next movie, Dazed and Confused, directed by Richard Linklater. I love this movie.
Me too. It's one of those movies that takes place all in like one day, and those are always interesting movies. I don't know.
Yeah, recently we watched The Myth of the American Sleepover, which is kind of a Dazed and Confused rip, and I didn't really...
Yeah, it wasn't... At first I liked it, but then it was like the same scene 100 times of two teenagers talking about why they weren't ready to fall in love or something. I don't know. It wasn't very good. Bridesmaids, that is a hilarious movie. It was a movie that when we saw it in the theater, I was laughing out loud really hard, which I hadn't done that in a movie in a theater in a long time. So Kristen Wiig is hilarious. It's a strong cast. Also Melissa McCarthy's, pretty steals the show.
Yeah, I was laughing really hard. We bought it on Blu-ray. I love that movie. We also kind of have that movie to represent the Judd Apatow movies. That Funny People is not that great. I'm not the biggest Judd Apatow fan. I think Bridesmaids is actually probably the strongest of all those movies. But I also like 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up. Super bad.
We watched all the bonus features on Bridesmaids, and those are really funny too. And there was a whole Paul Rudd scene that was cut out.
Yeah, that was funny. Paul Rudd got the roles in these recent Judd Apatow movies because of Wet Hot American Summer. That's what he said. Anyway, the next movie is another one of your favorites.
Happiness.
Oh, no. I was actually looking at Mean Girls.
Well, Happiness I like too. But the Todd Solondz movies, they're funny, but they're, not what you would typically consider a comedy.
Yeah, Happiness is probably his funniest movie. It's got, what's her name, Jane Addams, who's on Hung. She's really funny in it, and some other people. Mean Girls.
Mean Girls, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's just hilarious. Tina Fey did an awesome job with that movie. Amy Poehler's hilarious in it, and Rachel McAdams, that was a big breakout role for her because you could see that she was really talented in that movie.
Yeah, for sure. Next, like the Charlie Kaufman movies, being John Malkovich, Eternal Sunshine, Adaptation. These are movies that sort of fall into that. Is it a comedy? Right. I like those movies a lot. I think Eternal Sunshine and Adaptation are my favorites. I mean, that's only I don't know. I mean, Synecdoche I like a lot too, but I don't like it as much as I used to after I've watched Eternal Sunshine and Adaptation again since I've watched Synecdoche. I still think all of his movies are really brilliant, but he inspired the movie I think, Be Kind, Rewind. Michel Gondry directed that, who also directed Eternal Sunshine. And it just kind of has a Charlie Kaufman-esque plot, but kind of without the weight. You know what I mean? It doesn't really have that dramatic core, that twisted core to it. But
it's lighthearted, and it's a sweet movie. I like it.
I love Be Kind, Rewind. And it originally was supposed to star Dave Chappelle instead of Mos Def. And Mos Def does a great job in it, but you can only imagine what it would have been like if Dave Chappelle were in it. Next, the Alexander Payne movie, Sideways, about Schmidt. I wasn't really that into Election. Citizen Ruth is okay. That's got Laura Dern in it. I don't think you've ever seen that. But Alexander Payne's got a new movie coming out with George Clooney called The Descendants that should be pretty good. I think his movies are great.
The Sarah Silverman movie, Jesus is Magic, is an awesome movie. Sarah Silverman's great. I loved her show on Comedy Central, and this is just a funny movie. Yeah, it's her stand-up. But it also mixes in some skits with Bob Odenkirk playing her manager, and there's this hilarious part where he takes a strawberry, and he takes the leafy part off, and he's like, best part of the strawberry. And I always think about it. It's hilarious. The next one is Joan Rivers, A Piece of Work, which was a documentary. And I've always been a big Joan Rivers fan. I think she's hilarious, and it was really interesting to see, how driven she still is, and that's why she's still around, is because she just works her ass off. So yeah, she's funny. I like Joan Rivers. The next movie is a movie that we didn't really know we were going to like when we rented it. We just rented it to see what it was like. And I became a Steve Coogan fan through this, and it's Hamlet too. Yeah, and we've watched it, a bunch of times. It's like a good movie to throw on. It's really funny. We've seen that movie probably like a dozen times, but and it's not the greatest piece of art. No, but it's nice to just put on. You can laugh at it. And it's sweet. It's, and another movie that we both really like is Totally Awesome, which was a VH1 TV movie. Yeah, that was written and directed by Neil Brennan, who co-wrote Chappelle's Show. And we had both seen it independently before we met, and then when we met, I remember we talked about it, and we both liked it. Yeah, the one guy's really funny in it. I forgot his name, but the guy who plays the jock is hilarious. Yeah. The next, the Christopher Guest movies, this is Spinal Tap, Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show. Really love those movies. Then the Trey Parker movies like South Park and Team America. I actually think that their work on TV, I haven't seen Book of Mormon, but we have the soundtrack, and that's funny. Yeah. I actually think his other work is maybe better than these movies. I don't really like Team America or the South Park movie that much, but I appreciate them. It's got his humor. I really like Cannibal the Musical, but that's, I don't know, it's pretty weird. It's like a college movie pretty much. It's hilarious though. I like the Coen brothers. You really like Raising Arizona, right? Yeah, I like the Coen brothers. I like their dramatic movies better than their comedies. Yeah, but so do I. But I appreciate their comedies. Although, yeah, their humor can kind of get on my nerves. You like Raising Arizona more than I do. I remember when I first saw Big Lebowski in the theater, I was, laughing, and I thought it was great. But after all the quoting and all the bullshit, I don't know. They kind of ruined that movie for me. And then people always say Fargo is a comedy, but I really only think that the humor in that movie is derived from, oh, they talk funny. I mean, it's really a dark, depressing story if you think about it. I love Fargo, and I do think that there's humor in all of their movies because they're just really interesting directors, but whatever. And then like the classic movies like Airplane, National Lampoon's Vacation, Caddyshack, Blues Brothers, Animal House, those John Landis movies. Mel Brooks movies like Young Frankenstein. Yeah, so I recently wrote a blog about some sketch comedy shows that kind of made movies out of their shows, and the movies were really bad, and I kind of try to explain why that sketch comedy didn't translate to the big screen. So you should read my blog at fuckyeahRickyShore.tumblr.com. Alright, so Allie, hope we gave you some good recommendations, and thanks.